thank you, David, for the very, very kind introduction. Thank you for the warm welcome. It is great to be back with so many friends in the Hispanic Chamber. And I want to thank each of you for your leadership here in our nation's capital and all across the country. Your leadership fighting for small businesses. Your leadership fighting for jobs and economic growth. It makes a real difference. I can tell you in the Senate, my #1 priority is jobs and economic growth. And the reason for that is simple. That's the #1 priority of the Texans I represent. As I travel the state, I try to do small business roundtables all across Texas. And consistently in every community, whether East or West Texas, whether the Panhandle or down in the Valley, the #1 priority of Texans, we want to see jobs, we want to see opportunity, we want to see wages rising, we want to see a better future for our kids. And that is what the Hispanic Chamber exists to fight for, exists to champion. So I thank you for what you're doing, both in your private sector capacity of creating those jobs, of providing that opportunity, but also in your public capacity of interacting with government and supporting policies that create an environment where jobs can flourish. You know, when we think about opportunity in this country, most of us tend to think about our own family stories. David made reference to that. About the journey up the economic ladder. In my family, I think about my dad arriving in Austin in 1957. He was 18 at the time. And he'd been in prison and tortured in Cuba. When he got to Austin, he didn't know anybody. He took a ferry over to Key West. He took a Greyhound bus from Key West to Austin. He didn't know anybody. He had $100 sewn into his underwear. And his very first job was washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. Now, why did he get that job? It was real simple. He couldn't speak English. You didn't have to speak English to wash dishes. You had to take a dish, put it under hot water, and scrub it. He could do that in any language. Now, very soon thereafterwards, my dad learned English. Part of the reason he had a fairly acute incentive to learn English. And then he was enrolled as a freshman at UT. His classes were all English. And if he didn't learn English, he was going to flunk his classes. And if he flunked his classes, he would lose his student visa. And if he lost his student visa, he'd be sent back to Cuba and they'd kill him. So that gave a fairly exquisite incentive to learn English so that he could stay in America. And in fact, one of the things my dad did, he signed up for Spanish 101. He signed up for Spanish 101 and then he reverse engineered the class. So when the professor was up there saying milk is leche, he would write down, okay, leche is milk. And he just tried to do it backwards on everything that was coming. Well, fairly soon my dad's English got pretty good. And his next job was at that same restaurant as a cook. He got hired as a cook and he made 80 cents an hour. 80 cents an hour was better than 50. He liked being a cook a lot better than being a dishwasher. His next job after that, he got hired as a research assistant and a teaching assistant at the University of Texas teaching math. And then his next job from there was at IBM as a computer programmer. And then he and my mom went on to start a small business, a seismic data processing business in the oil and gas industry. Now that's a story I suspect that is familiar to just about everyone here, that all of us, it's one of the amazing things about this country, that we share that common journey. And a point that I try to make often when thinking about economic policies, I think our economic policies need to focus the most on the first and second and third rungs of the economic ladder, on the beginning of ascending to prosperity. Because if my dad hadn't gotten that first job washing dishes making 50 cents an hour, he doesn't get the second job making 80 cents an hour, he doesn't get the next job teaching, and he doesn't get hired by IBM or start his business. If you knock people off of the rung of economic opportunity early on, it strips their entire future. Now, where do jobs and economic growth come from? What folks here understand is that jobs and economic growth, they come from the private sector. They come from entrepreneurs putting capital at risk. And they come from small businesses. 2/3 of all new jobs come from small businesses. If you want to see more jobs and economic growth, there's a tried and true method, which is from the government side, regulatory reform and tax reform. Every time in history we've reduced the burdens on small businesses and job producers, the result has been incredible economic growth. And I will tell you, where the time we're at right now, it is a time of change. It is a time in Washington where the entire city is changing. And I have to tell you, in Texas at least, as I meet with business leaders, there is an excitement, there is an enthusiasm in the business community that I haven't heard in a long time. I believe we are poised for 2017 for this to be the most productive Congress in decades. Now, we could easily screw it up. But if we actually deliver on what we promised, I think we could have a tremendous impact on the economy. I think there are four major things I believe we're going to accomplish in 2017. First, and what we're in the middle of right now, is repealing Obama. Now, that has been a central campaign promise for 6 years. I can tell you, when I do small business roundtables in Texas, over and over and over again, small business owners tell me Obamacare is the single biggest challenge they face in their business. That it's forcing millions of Americans into part-time work. It's forcing millions of small businesses to stay under 50 employees. Obamacare, repealing it and then replacing it with patient-centered reforms that increase competition, that increase choices, that drive down costs, and give you, the patient, control over your health care without government getting between you and your doctor. That's what we need to be doing. Now, getting there is not going to be easy. We are in the middle of active debates within the House of Representatives, between the House and the Senate, with the administration. The House has a current bill that personally I don't think gets the job done. I think we need more work on the House bill, and so I'm working very, very hard with my colleagues in both houses and with the administration to improve that bill. And what I think is critically important to see in health care reform is reforms that drive down costs. The number one cause of people being so frustrated and angry with Obamacare is that premiums keep skyrocketing. All over Texas, I hear people who say, I can't afford health insurance anymore. The average family's premiums have increased over $5,000 a year. If we're going to do this and do this right, we've got to repeal the government mandates that are driving premiums through the roof, so that people can afford to have quality health care for their families. That's the first task before us. It is not going to be easy to get there, but I believe failure is not an option, that we have to get it done. And so I'm working very, very hard to try to bring people together to get us to yes, to get us to a real repeal, and a repeal that drives down premiums so that health care is affordable for people. A second major priority item in 2017 is reg reform. I have to tell you, just about every cabinet member that has sat down with me, the first words out of their mouth are reg reform. By all indications, this administration's commitment to reg reform is real, it is genuine, it is passionate. And what I would encourage each of you, my office is working very, very closely with the administration, the White House, and every cabinet agency. I would ask each of you to go back to your businesses and brainstorm with your teams what government policies, what government regulations, if repealed or modified, would have the single biggest impact on your bottom line, would have the single biggest impact on productivity, on job creation, on wages. One of the things that is promising about this new administration is this president wants to be bold. Boldness is a good characteristic in a president, and when it comes to reg reform, I can tell you this administration is asking me and my office for specific ideas where they should focus their attention to get bang for the buck. And so I encourage each of you to reach out to me directly. I would love your good, positive ideas on how we can create more and more jobs and jumpstart the economy. A third area that I think is likely to move in 2017 is tax reform. Tax reform is likely to move this summer or fall. I think we will see fundamental tax reform. Now, at this point, the details of tax reform are still very much up in the air. There's a House plan. It's being hotly debated. There are different views in the Senate. There are different views in the administration. As I stand here today, I can't tell you what tax reform specifically will include. I can tell you the advice that I've given the President is two words, bold and simple. I think there is power to bold simplicity, to dramatically simplifying the tax code, to reducing the burdens, reducing the paperwork, making the tax code simple and fair. And my view is that the odds are very high we're going to get tax reform accomplished. Meaningful, real tax reform. And the fourth thing that I think we're going to get done in 2017 is confirming a strong conservative justice to replace Antonin Scalia on the Supreme Court. Now, I got to say, if we get those four done, if we repeal Obamacare, if we get reg reform, if we get fundamental tax reform, and confirm a strong justice, all in 1 year, 2017 will be a blockbuster year. And there are a lot of risks. It is not easy stitching together a coalition to get over the finish line. But I'm encouraged because if we do all of that, the impact on each of your businesses should be profound. The impact in our objective should be millions and millions of new jobs. It should be wages rising. It should be expanded opportunity for the next generation of kids, like my dad, washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour, but with dreams of a better life. If the economy is booming, every other problem we have is solvable. If you want to rebuild the military, if you want to strengthen and preserve Social Security and Medicare, if you want to improve health care or education, all of those derive from economic growth. And I believe we've been given an historic opportunity to implement policies that will facilitate economic growth, facilitate small businesses growing. And so I'm energized and excited to have that opportunity. And so I want to close the way I opened, simply by saying to each of you, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for fighting to expand opportunity. The opportunity that in the Hispanic community, we are a profoundly entrepreneurial community. The American dream is what unifies the Hispanic community, and thank you for fighting for making sure the American dream is real for this generation and for generations to come.